Welcome back to our coverage here on Setanta Sports. It's the season finale of the British Touring Car Championship, and we've had one race and we've got two more to go. The cars are lining up there in the pit lane ready to be released out onto the circuit, and if you weren't with us earlier, let's quickly update you with what happened. Fabrizio Giovanardi won the first race of the day. He has narrowed the gap to Jason Plato to some 5 points in that championship battle. But Vauxhall were looking at a 1-2-3 finish in that race, and two of the cars went out with punctured tyres. So a lot to look forward to in this second race, and a lot of interest from everybody. Let's go down to the pits though. Nick Damon is with Series Director Alan Gow.
And I think we spoke to you, well, a couple of times during the season, but now your sum up of 2007, it's been a rather successful year, hasn't it?
It's been a great year, and it's all obviously going to come down to the last race, let alone the last race meeting. So it's been a great year. We've had good racing, good grids, good crowds, everything you could ask for.
We also, back at the media day, we thought there might be, 25 cars, and we all thought, oh, they'll all drop out, but you've still got 25 here today. What do you put that down to?
I don't know. This is a simple answer. It's because it's such a good championship. It's delivering those drivers and teams with what they need to sustain their involvement. If it wasn't a successful championship, yeah, you get a lot more drop off. But it's been a great year.
So let's do the important thing. Looking forward to 2008. How do you see the championship? For once, you've had a nice early calendar release.
Yeah, my God, but don't ask me about 2008 now. We haven't even finished 2007. There's no reason to think that 2008 won't be any different to this year. I'd expect the same sort of grid numbers. We've got a good calendar, good dates, good spread of events throughout the country, so way too early to tell. And sometimes this time of the year, if you listen to a lot of people, we'll have 40 cars on the grid. But realistically, I'd expect the same sort of numbers for next year.
Let's whiz back to this year again. Who's your money on?
I've got splinters in my bum. I'm sitting firmly on the fence on this one. I haven't got any money on anyone, and I've got to, obviously, in my position, I've got to remain pretty neutral about all that. But it's anyone's, honestly. It's going to get down to the last race, and with the reverse grid for the last race, I think it'd be a brave person to put any money on anything.
In a more general level, who's impressed you most this year?
That's a really difficult question. If you're talking about drivers or teams or teams, probably not the teams that you'd think of. People like BTCC Racing that are probably running with the smallest budget of all time and the least amount of bits and pieces, and they keep on appearing, and they have lots of problems and engine problems and accident damage, and they keep on getting out there. And that sort of dedication impresses me. So it's not necessarily the guys up the sharp end of the grid, it's the guys at the back of the grid as well that are just turning up and just doing the best job they can with the resources they've got. That really impresses me.
One of the stalwarts at the back of the grid, of course, being Rick Carey running the diesel car. If SAT want to come with diesels next year, will that be okay?
Of course, it's in the regulations. Rick can run a diesel car. It doesn't mean any other person can't run it. We run to FIA Super 2000 regulations. So as long as it meets the regulations, come on down.
And what's the chance one day, perhaps, Alan, you getting out in the car?
What, one of these? Well, never. I would only embarrass myself too greatly.
I've seen you herring around in the course Porsche a few times. You seem to be quite handy.
I've done a bit of racing in my time, but I'm an old bloke now. And in fact, I'm doing a little race next weekend at Knock Hill in the Minis, and I do 24-hour races every year. But I do a bit of racing, but I'd be well out of my depth in this arena.
I'm told you did a bit of endurance racing last week as well, a couple of weeks ago.
The Brick Car 24 hours, we didn't have much of an endurance because we bombed out after about 6.5 hours or something.
So how does the pleasure you get from seeing a full grid compare to the pleasure you get from winning a race?
It's two different things, It's I suppose when you're in my position, looking over the grid, you feel like the father figure, if you like, and making sure all his children are well behaved and everything else. Totally different feeling to when you're racing yourself. You're doing it for yourself. This championship, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the competitors, the teams, the public. And changing sports, how do you feel about the rugby? I'm very ambivalent about it because we're out, so I don't care who wins. But if England win, fine. But we got kicked out a week ago, and my interest disappeared after that.
It's very rare we can talk to an Australian and have any sort of success over you, so it's great. Been a fantastic season, very well done, fantastic organisation.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Well, with the cars I'm here. With the cars not actually out on the grid, not really wanting Steve to just hang around filming girls, I'm sure that might get the ratings up a bit. We'll pass back to Ben and Tim in the box.
Thanks very much, Nick. Yeah, they'll be out onto the track in a few moments' time. Just talking about what happened earlier on, Tim, what was your sort of summary, really, of what happened? I mean, we saw several cars getting punctures, didn't we? I know Dunlop are always very keen to make sure the teams know exactly how they should be running the tyres here, but the teams love to run as close to the edge as they can.
Well, the problem is that the teams feel that by increasing the camber a little bit more than perhaps Dunlop would suggest, that they'll get more performance. They feel that if they have a bit more tyre pressure in the tyre than Dunlop suggests, then maybe they'll be quicker. And you know, it's a battle of engineers, drivers, and perhaps if you're not on the front row or near the front, you take more of a gamble. But there was certainly no reason for Vauxhall to gamble, and of course then it's down to the drivers to have the self-discipline to stay off the curbs in the first 3 laps.
Well, there is the point situation now after that first race of the day. 5 points, the advantage to Jason Plato. Just to remind you, there are 15 points for a win, 12 points for second, 10 points for third, etc. And it's definitely between those two. Now, for Plato to actually wrap up the championship in this second race of the day, he effectively needs Giovinazzi to suffer a non-finish, and even then, Plato would either have to win or finish second with fastest lap. So it's pretty unlikely that we'll see the championship wrapped up in race 2. It looks like it's going to go all the way to the wire, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, what's going to be interesting here is going to see how much pressure that Plato comes under from Menu behind. How aggressive is he going to be? Menu was very impressive in that first race up until the puncture, carrying the extra 45 kilos that he has to as a new entrant in the championship. And Plato is fairly heavy, obviously, as well. So that's going to be an interesting facet of the race.
Yeah, and it's a good point that Alain Menu, despite the puncture on the final lap, he still managed to cross the line in 4th place. So he starts 4th on the grid, and that is immediately behind Jason Plato. So that does put Plato on his mettle a little bit, because the Vauxhall right behind, he's going to have Giovinazzi alongside on the front row of the grid. And then joining in the fun and games, not really battling for the championship, but definitely going for race wins, are the 2 Team Halfords cars. Gordon Shedden will start from 3rd place on the grid, and Matt Neal, outgoing champion, he'll start from 5th place, and they could both be a threat. Then you've got the Colin Turkington BMW, which, as we know, is pretty fast off the line, so it's still very unpredictable.
The other thing to watch out for is that Colin Turkington's only 2 points behind Matt Neal now in the championship, and starting next to each other on the grid. That's going to be very interesting.
What also is interesting is that Turkington has a 12-point lead in the independence points after Mike Jordan's problems. He suffered a broken wishbone on board there with Colin Turkington. By the way, the Team RAC, have made well and truly sure of the Independent Teams Trophy, so that's something they're already going to be celebrating, but they'll be keen to try and win this Independence Drivers' Championship as well.
Yeah, very much so, and they have one little advantage here in that their car is probably the best car on the tyres here, the least likely to have a puncture, and temperatures have gone up significantly since the first race. We're now a lot hotter. We're in the middle of the day, the temperatures have gone up, the front wheel drive cars will be more prone to problems.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the BMWs, which actually they would like these races to be about another 5 or 10 laps longer, the heat is going to help them, isn't it? So you're absolutely right there. Colin Turkington could be in good shape. Matt Jackson's up there too. He's starting from 7th on the grid. We've got to watch out for Tom Coronel too. He's in the 3rd of the Seat. But as we know, in that first race, Tom Chilton started from pole position. He led away at the start, but was one of those to suffer a puncture. Let's get down onto the grid and join Mick.
Tom Chilton here. Tom, it was all going so well. The tyre let go, and not for the first time for you here at Thruxton.
No, yeah, the tyres, you have to be very careful around here. I thought I did a really good job of holding myself back. I know I still got fastest lap, but I was still lifting off the throttle and not turning into the understeer, and I was as careful as I could be. But you know, we're 2 laps from the end. Motor racing's about getting everything you can out of your tyres, like every little bit. And unfortunately, we were 2 laps short. So we've made the car a lot more conservative for this race. So we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, obviously it's a bit of a blow, because obviously Vauxhall were looking at you for team points, and obviously the shotgun riding for Fabrizio.
Yeah, I know. Well, Fabrizio, we've given him a little bit more of an aggressive setup. He's more aggressive than me, because he's obviously got a battle with Jason at the front. I've just got to make sure I finish and score as many points as possible.
Tom, thanks very much. Well, we're going to go from Tom. We're going to go to another man who's got exactly the same problem, in that he's not much help to his teammate because he had a puncture, and that's Darren Turner. So we're going to pick up his speed. Oh, look at this go. And there's a quick word with Darren now, and we'll... I'm sorry, I can't just pop in home with Darren. I'm sorry. Only the engineer, who cares? Darren, we had a brief chat, but did you get any warning at times to let go?
No, none at all. I mean, some guys obviously have had some vibration and then they've had the puncture, but literally on the way down from Goodwood on the way to church, and it just let go. Similar place to where Tom went off as well. But luckily enough, I was able to sort of, I'm not saying it was down to skill, more luck than anything, kept it on the track and able to get the car back, do a quick change of tyres on the front axle and at least collect the points for the manufacturer side.
So how come we've seen identity set up cars? I expect you and Jason one go and one not.
I mean, I had a few sort of curb sort of bashing incidences earlier on when I was trying to get through some of the traffic, so I might have damaged the tyre then. But we're not sure. I mean, obviously the Dunlop guys are going to look into it and hopefully come back and let us know. But this track is one of those places that's really hard on tyres, and we all know that if you push too hard, it could be a problem.
How many more that? Well, Darren, that's our cue to go. So catch you a bit later. They always do try and kill me. I can't think what it is. Let's whiz it up. We're going to go a bit past some of the dead men at the grid. They've been propping up the back the whole time, causing a bit of fun with the odd accident. That was George, who rarely does the same lap twice. And past with Jason Hughes, who was enjoying it very much in our hotel last night. Had a very nice little display. And we're now with Owen Murray. So Owen's not had the best of times, but we're going to give him a call, mainly because our cameraman Steve wants to film his grid girls. So that's a good enough reason, I think, to... what a nice door handle. What a lovely door handle, that Alpha. Oh, and I think it's fair to say the season hasn't really gone as you would have liked.
No, we've had a few problems with the car, but everything is sorted now, and hopefully we can have a good race today.
I mean, obviously the key thing is getting around that first couple of corners, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody has predicted mayhem down at the complex, so I just hope to stay out of trouble and get through it,
Would it be fair to say that the Alpha seems to suffer from not being the most robust car? I mean, it seems if you have an accident, the Alpha seems to get terminally damaged each time, rather than bouncing off like some of the tougher cars do.
Yeah, I mean, the S2000 cars are for sure not as strong as the BTCC cars, but our problem has just been a lack of spares, really, and sometimes when we've had damage or mechanical failure, we haven't been able to repair it.
That's very bad. Best of luck for this race. Well, we're gonna nip across the grid, try to avoid it. You can go via the girls. Oh, you are lovely. And by Rob Collier. Rob, as we know, not only being star of Wife Swap, but also runs his own demolition company, and also on this side, as we hop around, left-hand drive. Rob, welcome back.
Hello, it's very good to be back.
So, how come you decided to come out for this last round? We saw you at the beginning of the season in Porsches, didn't get on with those. Obviously, you're looking to stake a claim for next year.
Yes, well, basically, I was at work and I got a phone call Thursday afternoon to see if I was available to race, so I dusted off my crash helmet and had the first drive in the car yesterday morning.
You get that lovely idea, because your work being demolition, you got out of your big wrecking ball digger and get me a big wrecking ball Seat.
Yes, I must admit, it makes a change from driving diggers and lorries, so very pleased to be back here at my home circuit. Thruxton's fantastic to drive, and the Seat, for the first time driving one, is fantastic as well.
Best of luck, Rob. Well, I don't know how... Was that a 3-minute board? It's not going to stop me. Let's keep going. Well, let's go and see one of our other newcomers. It's Tom Coronel. This side again, on the left-hand side. And it's a warm welcome to BTCC to Tom Coronel. Tom, how are you enjoying your experience so far?
It's a really good experience. It's a tough championship on a really, really strong circuit, but no, everything feels all right. I like the thing with 3 races. I'm very, very fan of that.
And a bit easier for this race because you've lost that 45 kilos.
No, because I only do 1 race in the championship, so I'm all weekend totally full with lead.
All right. That's interesting. We weren't sure about that, so you keep that full weight. But, of course, if you can get yourself in the top 6, 7, you've got the reverse grid in race 3.
That's what is the plan. You understood very clear.
OK, Tom, thanks very much. Again, how many minutes was that, Gav? 2? Oh, that's hours. That's fine, no problem at all. 2 minutes, I can get 14 in that time. And we're with Matt. Matt, is it fair to say that these Thruxton tyres aren't as competitive on the BMWs as they are on the front drive cars? It's happened here last time, it seems to have happened again.
Yeah, I don't think it's the BM around here is it's obviously quite fast and bumpy, and with it being rear-wheel drive, we need all the grip we can get from the tyre, so it makes it difficult.
So what are you really looking for this weekend? I mean, you're just climbing up those independent points?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got an independent championship. I think we're about 18 points from Colin, so we need to bag points and three top finishes. Hopefully Colin, not wishing any bad luck on him, but it may play into our hands. We'll have to wait and see. All we can do is do our best.
Matt, best of luck. With the 1 minute board, even I have to leave the grid now, so let's see what Ben and Tim make of all that rubbish.
Thank you very much, Nick. Well, you're a busy man down there on the grid. but lots to look forward to now in the second race. Problems for Fiona Leggett. The door is closed on her garage. It doesn't look as though she's going to be competing in this one, so I'm afraid no sign of Fiona Leggett on the grid. We can see Jason Hughes down there, about two-thirds of the way down the grid in the MG. So it's going to be Fabrizio Giovanardi who will lead them away. Jason Plato up there as well. So is Gordon Shedden and Alain Menu, and I guess that's where we expect to see our race winner come from. Slight difference in ballast between the top two now, Tim, from that first race.
Yeah, a little bit of difference, but not enough to make a difference really in terms of performance. But they're going to be very equal, and Plato will still be trying to just manage that tiny gap that he's got in points with a good, safe finish.
Away they go then on the green flag lap. We've got a yellow. Is that with Hughes or is that with John George? Let's take a look. No, they seem to have got away okay, actually. So hopefully everybody's in one piece. Tom Chilton starting right towards the back of the grid, of course. He was one of the earlier retirements. Mike Jordan is also towards the back, so watch for those two cars to be coming through the field. Matt Allison, another one. So there are several cars towards the back end of the grid that we need to keep an eye on during this race to see if they're going to make it through and become a feature towards the end. So we've got two more races to go here at Thruxton. Absolutely glorious conditions. Thousands of people up on the banking there as they head down towards the complex area, and it really promises to be another fascinating encounter between these two top drivers, Fabrizio Giovanardi and Jason Plato. There's Alan Taylor going very slowly, so there was a problem for somebody, and he can't leave it there, I wouldn't think. He's right on the pit lane exit. Looks like it's got a gearbox problem, apparently, I'm being told. So well, it's not a good place to be.
No, it's definitely not with the first lap coming, but we'll see some good British marshals get out there and push him to one side, I should think. And if they're quick enough, they should get him out the way. I'd probably put him to the inside rather than the outside there, personally. But
yes, I don't know why he's steering that way, but there we are. He is going to go off to the outside, which seems a little bit strange. But the marshals, as ever, doing a fantastic job. Big marshals recruitment campaign here this weekend as well, and to join in is a good thing to be doing. The cars are making their way round then on this green flag lap, and it's Fabrizio Giovanardi who is on pole position for this second race of the day. Jason Plato right there with him, though. He'll be joined on the front row of the grid. Then we've got Gordon Shedden. He's sitting in third place. Alain Menu in the other Vauxhall will be starting on the second row. But Alan Taylor, I'm afraid, has just been pushed away. He's got some sort of gearbox problem with his car, so he's not going to be starting this race.
Fortunately, shame. There's a gap in the Armco there, so they can get that car well out of way before the pack comes through that first corner, Allard. Here's the grid.
Giovanardi and Plato, Shedden and Menu, then Matt Neal and Colin Turkington in the fast-starting BMW. Behind them, we've got Matt Jackson, then Tom Coronel. He's in the third Seat this weekend. Adam Jones and Tom Onslow Cole, Rob Collard on his return, and Owen Murray as well. He lines up in 12th. Then it's Paul O'Neill, Jason Hughes, Etiquette and John George, Alan Taylor and Darren Turner. Turner one to watch from 18th. As is Matt Allison from 20th. Fiona Leggett's missing from the grid. Tom Chilton from 21st. He could come through to the front. And Mike Jordan disappointed to be a retirement in the last race. Then we've got David Pinkney and Martin Bell, with Rick Kerry bringing up the rear of the grid in the diesel BMW.
Yeah, watch for Chilton from the back. He's very quick this weekend, and he'll be looking to make it somewhere into that top 10 to give him a chance for the last race.
5 points the gap between Jason Plato and Fabrizio Giovanardi. This race and the final one to go in the championship. This is round 29. Let's see what's going to unfold. More dramas, I'm sure, here at Thruxton. Red lights on, out they go, we're racing, and it's a great start from Giovanardi. Plato away reasonably well, but he's under attack immediately from Gordon Shedden and Matt Neal, and the rest of the field gets away. What a good start that was by the Italian up front. Giovanardi away well, and we gather that Paul O'Neill's only just got going, so he's further down the grid, but Plato's trying to defend his second place here and just manages to turn into the complex ahead of the two Team Halfords cars.
Yeah, both the Halfords cars side by side through the first part of the complex. They're ganging up on Plato. Everyone else looking to come through intact. That was Tom Coronel in the third Seat.
So Menu was not particularly quick at the start there. Alain Menu started from 4th place in another of the Vauxhalls, but he dropped a couple of places, and he now finds himself in 5th place. Both of those Halfords cars have got past him, Shedden and Neal. Oh, and Martin Bell with a lot of damage to the side of the car.
Yeah, heavy damage there. And Matt Allison, who was another one to retire from the first race with a puncture. He looks like he's getting going again, actually. Whether he's just bringing that car back to the pits, I don't know. We'll see if he gets going, but that's a great shame for both of those drivers.
Now watch the drivers try and stay off the curbs in these early laps. Before they have much tyre temperature, they will be trying, in theory, they'll be trying to avoid the curbs.
Well, let's watch. The first curb's not so severe. This is the one they must stay off. Well, did they? No.
Well, straight over the curves. Both Giovanardi and Plato, though, managed to look after their tyres in that first race. They were two of the ones that did do it extremely well. Owen Murray and Rob Collard having a good battle. I noticed further back, side by side, there they are, and squeezing in between them is Adam Jones.
Yeah, Adam Jones, who's really been fast all year. Rob Collard, I bet, loving this, getting back in the thick of touring car action. Oh, touch there, that's Adam Jones and Owen Murray.
They got round, how did they do? Oh, Collard's hit Jones, Collard's hit him. He's on the grass, and surely he's broken his front suspension there. That was a hefty swipe, and I don't think that car's very healthy anymore. What a shame. On his return to touring cars, he was just outside the points in the first race in 11th. He ain't going to score any now.
No, I think excitement got the better part of him here. He was on the outside coming round the right-hander, hoped to stay inside, but Adam Jones was already coming into the corner, and that's definite suspension damage.
Yeah, out of that one, Rob Collard. He'll have to save things up for the third race of the day, but it's Giovanardi who leads still from Plato. The top two in the championship still battling it out here in the early stages of race 2. Gordon Shen is in third place, but Alain Menu up there as well in the yellow Vauxhall. He's just ahead of Turkington here. We're riding on board with the BMW of Colin Turkington as he threads his way through the chicane. Does use a bit of curve, but tries not to hit it too hard.
Well, I mean, they're taking a normal racing line. There's absolutely nothing been saved there. So with the hotter weather conditions, let's just see if that catches them out later in the race.
It's hard for these drivers who are so used to using the curves to try and stay off them, isn't it? Even when they're trying to be careful. There is the battle for the lead. Look how close Plato is to the back of Giovanardi, and he's alongside. There's contact between the two championship rivals, but Giovanardi saves it, and Plato's going to be in trouble here because he might have lost a bit of momentum. I think he's picked it back up again. Whoa, I didn't expect to see that so early in this race.
Well, I don't know what happened there, but Giovanardi was very slow through the first part of the complex. We didn't see what happened, but it was almost as though he had a problem, and Plato had no choice but to attack. And that really let the two Halfords cars catch up quickly, and the result is, in fact, that Giovanardi's got an increased gap.
He has increased it. Let's take a look. This was the onboard view, Tim. This was into the complex.
Well, Giovanardi's gone defensive. Plato's carried speed through the first part, looked down the inside, a bit of a touch there. They both tried to get out of it, actually. And then there we are, Plato under pressure, and Giovanardi with a good exit. Oh, they're just passing Collard there, retiring.
Yeah, he only just got out of the way as the leaders came up to pass him into the chicane, and Plato still holds on to second. Shedden in third place, Matt Neal in fourth. Then behind him is Alain Menu and Colin Turkington. Tom Coronel in the extra Seat that's entered this weekend is in seventh place, and Shedden moves out. Shedden moves out of line.
Got a problem. He's got a problem. He's moving out of the way. He knew he had a problem as he came out of that chicane because he pulled tight to the right-hand side. So whatever it was, he felt it going on the run up to the chicane.
That puts Matt Neal into third place. And remember, Matt Neal and Jason Plato have had their battles in the past, haven't they? There's no love lost between them. They could end up running together on the racetrack. Look at Tom Coronel. He's the third of those three cars. It's the blue and yellow Seat. The Dutchman who's new to touring cars, but he's been drafted in by Seat to try and help their campaign. Vauxhall have just opened up the points a little bit in the Manufacturers' Championship as a result of the first race of the day, but it's still very tight between Seat and Vauxhall to try and win that Manufacturers' title this year.
The fastest lap went to Matt Neal on lap 2 at 1:19.6, so half a second slower than they went in the first race. That's as a result of the increased temperature here now for the second race, and now they're lapping in the 120s. It's unlikely that either Plato or Giovanardi are going to pick up that extra point for fastest lap.
On board with Turkington, and behind Coronel is Matt Jackson, who's going well in the white BMW, and he was telling me that the car feels very good in race trim. They struggled with qualifying, but he's confident in the race. But right behind him is another BMW, that of Tom Onslow Cole. So there's some various races going on. Darren Turner's in the next group with Tom Chilton, and they've got up into 11th and 12th places now.
Yeah, they've had a good run from the back, and they're now attacking Adam Jones. I think they'll probably get through. This lap, Plato seems to close massively on the brakes there, doesn't he, up into the complex?
Yeah, he really seems fast into the first part of the complex. Both hop over the curb in the second part. Matt Neal still in a slightly lonely third position now, having lost Gordon Shen. Alain Menu in the Vauxhall in fourth place, then Turkington And once again, we're on board with Jason Plato here, running in second. This is the area of the track where they have to be so careful on the tyres.
Well, you say they have to be careful, but it's a corner. They have to go round it. They have to go round as fast as they can. There's nothing the driver can really do except just try and exercise a little bit of fine control on the steering wheel and not load it up too much. But it's really the progression of the corner, the length of the corner that loads a car up. Oh, a little bit of debris flown off the back of Giovanardi's car. I think that was something he ran over.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it got caught in Plato's car, so that would be a little sense of relief for Jason Plato. And I wonder if Plato's hurting, or whether, as he keeps telling us, the adrenaline is proving to be a good painkiller. Those burns certainly affecting him. But look at Matt Neal getting closer to him here. Matt Neal in third place in the orange car, the Team Halfords machine, definitely getting a little closer. You know, Matt's only had one win this year, and that's not really suitable for him. He likes winning lots of races. He's won the last 2 championships. There's his teammate, he's out of it altogether. Yeah,
I don't know what the problem is there, but you're right. Matt Neal, as I said, with fastest lap, has really been flying, and he's not a great fan of Jason Plato, so he's not going to do him any favours. And if the rumours up and down the pit lane are true, Matt might be driving for Vauxhall next year, which is another incentive to perhaps help them.
Yeah, that's right. So you wonder what will happen there. Giovanardi still the man out in front from Plato and Matt Neal. The fastest lap to Matt Neal now. It's an extra point for fastest lap. That means that neither Giovanardi or Plato have got that point, and that could have quite a bearing on the outcome here between the two. There's a 3-point difference between winning a race and finishing in second, but you also get an extra point for leading. So Giovanardi's already picked that point up, and so currently he's on target to score 4 more points than Plato, and that would mean they would go into the final race with Plato just 1 point ahead. But that might change, because here comes Matt Neal, and Matt Neal wants that second place from Jason Plato, and he's leaning on him. Can't quite make it yet.
Not quite yet, and we saw just in front of them Giovanardi with a little bit of smoke coming off his tyres on the brakes. Clearly the Seat is better on the brakes than the Vauxhall, and we saw in the first lap, Sophie can't bear to watch, but we saw in the first race that the Vauxhall perhaps lost a bit of performance near the end of the race. So it's going to be Plato and Matt Neal putting the pressure on Giovanardi, I think, later on.
Indeed, Giovanardi just trying to pace himself again. He's careful into the complex with the brakes. He doesn't want to overload the tyres. There's some real thinking going on here, and behind them, Alain Menu still running in 4th place. Whoa, he's run wide, and Turkington's got to something happened there, Tim. Was there contact?
I don't think there was. I think he just literally ran wide on the exit of the complex there, put a wheel on the dirt, dragged him off a little bit. It looked like a splitter that he ran over, but I don't think it was his. It might have been from a support race, if anything.
Right, so hopefully the car's undamaged. But that, from a moment, I thought we were going to see a very exciting time for Alain Menu. You're on board with Turkington, who's right behind him. He's running in 5th, and Turkington coming into this race with a 12-point lead in the Independence Championship, and he's well ahead of his rivals at the moment, particularly his nearest rival, Mike Jordan, who's down in 12th position. So it's looking good for Team RAC to win not only the Independence Teams title, but also the Independence Drivers title. And Turkington won't want to get into too much of a fight with Menu from that point of view. Behind them, there's Jackson, and he's got ahead of Tom Coronel in the Seat.
Oh, Matt Neal round the outside of Plato. Plato won't give that up easy. There's going to be contact.
Oh, it's tight stuff, and Plato cannot afford a non-finish. If he gets a non-finish here, Giovanardi would be handed a big championship lead going into the final race. And Matt Neal tried to take second, but Plato absolutely determined not to let that Team Halfords car come through. And Giovanardi must be loving this in his mirrors.
Yeah, he will. He'll like to see that Plato's got problems from Neal. He can conserve his tyres as much as possible, drive his own line. As soon as he starts defending and working the car harder, it'll put more strain on his tyres.
Matt Neal and Jason Plato, two of the hardest drivers in British touring cars. As you say, Tim, no love lost between these two guys. Let's take a look at that again.
Yeah, good exit from the chicane, put Matt Neal round the outside, but Plato keeps his foot in, keeps pushing, risks contact there, the little bit of a brush, but Plato using all the road, and that could have ended up very differently.
Difficult place to go around the outside of somebody, and Matt Neal's nothing if not brave. He certainly went for it, but it didn't quite come off. Half distance now in this race. We're on lap 8 out of 16, and they've still got to look after these tyres. Remember, we're still in, half distance, long way to go. It was in the last 3 or 4 laps that several cars got into trouble in the first race. Giovanardi crosses the line, and he has an advantage of 6/10 over Plato. Matt Neal not quite as close as he was last time around.
Yeah, Turner and Chilton are up to 9th and 10th, so they're in that crucial top 10.
Yeah, and remember, we won't know how many positions are reversed on the grid for the third race until afterwards. Anything between the top 6 and top 10 could be reversed. That's how the points are at the moment. If it stays like this, Giovanardi would have a 1-point advantage over Jason Plato.
But if it stays like this, they will definitely be changed in the next race on the grid.
Yeah, that's right. So reverse grid, of course, for race 3 of the day. It really does look as though it's going to go all the way. But don't forget, we're still into the latter stage of this race. It is warmer now, a lot warmer than it was when we had the first race of the day. So there still have to be concerns over the tyres, whether the teams have played it safe or whether they've gone for a more risky setup. There's his son Luca, that's Fabrizio's son Luca there, his wife Patrizia here this weekend as well. They haven't come to many of the races, but they're here supporting Fabrizio as he goes for the title.
Yeah, I have to say, I think Plato's got to go for the win here. He needs the points, he's under pressure from Neil behind. I think the Heels car will get stronger towards the end of this race, and I really think he's got to summon everything he can inside that car, go through the pain barrier and try and go for the win.
Well, that's what it comes down to. These two great rivals, Giovanardi and Plato, two of the most experienced touring car drivers in the world, not just in the British Championship. And it's a real class battle. They've got tremendous respect for each other, but Plato's getting closer again. That same section of track where he touched with Giovanardi early in the race, again it's where Giovanardi just seems to be taking it a bit easy.
Well, Giovanardi isn't taking it easy, it's just the shorter wheelbase of that Seat gives it a better change of direction in the slower corners. This is where the Vauxhall is much better, up until the point, though, that he may wear his tyres more.
Well, on board with Giovanardi, looking back at Plato. The gap, again, as you say, opens up in these faster sections where the Vauxhall has the advantage, and the Seat just sits in the slipstream. Look at that church corner, 120 miles an hour through there. Fantastic, one of the best corners anywhere in the world. And they get through it safely once again, trying to stay off that curb on the outside, which really loads up those outside tyres. Climbing up Woodham Hill on the brakes and into the chicane, and we'll have a look over the curb, and there Jason seemed to go a bit deeper perhaps.
Yeah, Plato outbraked himself, which is what he did before, and let Matt Neal through. This time Matt Neal's trying to get through on the inside.
This is going to be trouble for Plato if he's not careful. He just manages to turn in ahead of Matt Neal. And Matt Neal, you get the feeling that Matt's trying to do this as cleanly as possible, but he wants that second position, and he is not going to give up trying, and he's going to have a look. No, not quite. He's not alongside on the way into the complex.
I think that's what happened a few laps ago. Plato outbraked himself a fraction into the chicane, and Neal got a run at him. The last time Neal went round the outside, that time he tried to tuck to the inside. If Jason can just control himself in there, he's got the pace to do this, but it can't be easy. Remember, he is carrying a lot of injuries from that nasty fire he suffered, and Matt Neal's put his lights on now, but that won't have any effect on Plato.
The tension down there in the pits is Jason's wife Sophie looking very nervous, and it just is beginning to build up more and more. The title decider, surely it's going to go all the way to the wire, but Plato wants this second place. He can't really afford to lose second position. It wouldn't mean the end of his championship hopes, but every point is obviously going to count here this weekend. There's no doubt about it. And if he's going to be in position to beat Giovanardi in the final race of the day, he needs this second place, but that's how close Matt Neal is behind him. And Matt Neal wants a result here. Look, using more curve there, Matt Neal this time.
Well, Matt Neal had all four tyres across the curb on the inside there, so he isn't saving his tyres at all.
Well, he can afford to go for it a bit more, can't he? I mean, you know, it's go for it for Matt Neal, go for the race win. He's not worrying about the championship. First time in 2 years he's got to the final meeting, of course, where he hasn't had to worry about winning the title.
Yeah, that's true, although he is only 2 points ahead of Turkington, who's 2 places behind him, so in the championship he wouldn't want to lose another place either in the championship.
No, good point. That's yeah, he won't want to throw it away, but nonetheless, you can see he's absolutely on it. Those lights ablaze, as you say. Behind them, it's still à la menu for Vauxhall running in fourth. In terms of manufacturers, it's still good for Vauxhall because they've got 2 cars in the top 4 here, whereas Seat have got a car 2nd and 7th, with their 3rd car, Darren Turner, in 11th place. So in terms of the Manufacturers' Championship, Vauxhall are looking better and better. They have been leading throughout most of the season. Seat won the Manufacturers last year, but they have not yet won the Drivers' title, and that's what they're really going for. And that's why Plato's trying so hard to fend off Matt Neal.
4 laps to go at the end of this, and this could be the crucial 4 laps, because tyres are going to come into play at the end of this race. Dunlop providing an excellent tyre here, but have the teams been safe enough with their setup? The drivers certainly haven't been safe enough with their driving over the curve, so let's see what happens this next 4 laps as Plato again starts to build a bit of a challenge towards Giovanardi.
Yeah, and he was tighter into the chicane that time. He didn't outbrake himself, but he kept it neat through every section. Behind them, I saw that Turkington's pretty close to Alain Menu in the battle for 4th. Ooh, a little bit deep there from Plato, perhaps into the first part. They've also got a back marker they're going to have to deal with in a moment. Giovanardi winds his way through the complex. Now it's all flat out from here on in, with just a little bit of easing off the throttle to try and balance the car through this very fast section of corners. And a car ahead is always going to worry you a little bit. Let's see what's been going on here. This is for 8th place. Mike Jordan, who's moved up a bit. Tom Onslow Cole was up his inside. Oh, there was a bit of a touch. Jordan had to jump over the curb. And maybe Chilton was able to take Onslow Cole. Did he actually get past? I think he may have done. So Chilton, yeah, he did. He came across the line in 9th. So Jordan's got up to 8th, having started way down. Well, that's pretty impressive. He started back on the 11th row, back in 22nd place. Jordan now up into 8th position.
Yeah, but look how much Plato's closed on this lap, and still 3 more laps to go. He's right back on the tail, He's trying everything he can to maximise the Seat strengths on the brakes, but he's right there.
Oh, wonderful stuff. Look at this 3-way battle for the win here at Thruxton. He's got to watch his mirrors as well as Plato. He might be closer to Giovanardi, but he's also got Matt Neal right there. And Matt Neal's Team Alfred's car flying at this stage as a nudge from Neal as they head up round the left-hander towards the complex. Giovanardi just with enough of an edge surely to hold. Oh, he's down the inside. They're side by side. Plato takes the lead. They're both across the grass. Matt Neal's trying to rejoin. It's the same. It's still Giovanardi leading. Plato's still in 2nd, and still Matt Neal in 3rd.
Well, I think, Sophie can't bear to watch. Nor can the Giovanardi family. It's just unbelievable. Matt Neal has backed out of this. I think he thinks they're going to take them both out, but we need to see that again. Plato comes up the inside, rattles into the side. They both run wide. Giovanardi elects to go across the grass early, and Plato thinks, well, I'll follow you. And they come out in status quo.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any penalties applied because nothing changed. This was the moment. Plato went for the late lunge down the inside. Oh, that was where the rubbing was done. And now they just took to the grass, took the shortcut and stayed ahead of Matt Neal. But thankfully, they didn't rip off the front splitters. They could have done damage there across the grass, but they seem to have got away with it. But there are still a couple of laps to go. They come across the line this time to complete 14 and to go on to their 15th lap. 2 laps to go. It's still Giovanardi ahead of Plato.
And still 1 point in it. But it certainly seems to have had the effect of frightening Matt Neal off, doesn't he? He doesn't want to get involved. But I do think Plato will be back on the back of Giovanardi for the last lap.
Yeah, it's lap and a half. Plato with a 1 point margin. If it finishes like this, he will still be 1 point ahead of Giovanardi into the final race, and they will be on a reverse grid. But of course, there'll only be one position different on that reverse grid, and it's a question then of who can come through, who can fight their way through more effectively. Certainly Vauxhall looks strong in that opening race, but the Seat is always strong at the end of the races, and Plato has shown it again here in this second race of the day. It's building up to be a tremendous finale, but we've still got this race to finish. And remember, there were dramas on the last lap of the earlier race we had today, and they'll all be very aware of that. Matt Neal's still in 3rd, big gap back now to the battle for 4th, which is still being held by Alain Menu in a Vauxhall, Colin Turkington, and then Matt Jackson in the background. I could just see them flashing up the hill. They'll be coming around this time to go on to their final lap.
Here we go, the positions have stayed very much the same on this lap. I don't think Plato's really got a lot left. Menu back up to 4th in front of Turkington and Jackson.
Yeah, interesting little tussle in potential between those 2 BMWs, the Team RAC car of Turkington and the privateer family-run car of Matt Jackson. Not much to choose between them as they came across the line that time, that's for sure, and each looking for points in the Independence Championship. But up front, it's still Giovanardi looking to take the 15 points for the win. He hasn't taken fastest lap, but he will get 1 extra point for leading, so he'll get 16 points here. Jason Plato looks set to get 12 points for 2nd place. It was a 5-point gap between them coming into this one. It will be a 1 point gap going into the final race. Now watch this section of the track. This is where the tyres can let go if they're marginal. It's where we've seen problems already today. Giovanardi's through Goodwood safely in the background. It looks safe for Jason Plato as well.
Yeah, they both look okay. One last fast corner, this one, Church, taken in 6th gear, 125 miles an hour. They stay in 6th gear all the way up Woodham Hill, only gaining another 5 or 7 miles an hour all the way up there.
It's a nerve-wracking race when you've got to worry about the tyres as well, but it's going to be a repeat of the first race of the day. It's going to set up a wonderful climax to the British Touring Car Championship. Fabrizio Giovanardi is going to come through to take victory for Vauxhall, and Jason Plato finishes second. They will be separated by 1 point in the title battle going into the final race of the season.
Well, we couldn't have it any better, could we? Now we just have to wait and see how many cars will be reversed for that final rid. Anything between 6 and 10. But we do know that Giovanardi and Plato will be starting next to each other.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff from both drivers. So hard they were pushing throughout that race, and contact twice between them, and yet they both got away with it. They both got out of trouble, and they have finished first and second. Matt Neal, as you say, I think he sort of decided, I don't want to get involved in this. He sort of dropped back a bit in third, didn't he?
He did. You know, I think it was a great race at the front. There won't be any sort of bad feeling amongst them. They were racing hard. I think Plato probably felt, certainly 3/4 of the way through the race, he had the car to win. And about when I said I think he should push, I think it was the right time to push, because Neal was giving him pressure from behind, but he just couldn't make that move stick.
So the results, Giovanardi the winner from Jason Plato with Matt Neal in third, then a gap back to Colin Turkington, looking good now for the independent win in the Drivers' Championship. Matt Jackson 5th, Alamenu in 6th, then Tom Coronel in 7th place, Mike Jordan in 8th, Chilton in 9th, and Tom Onslow Cole. So Alamenu again lost places on the final lap of that race. Menu dropping down to 6th place at the end there. Well, let's just see what that's done to the points. Jason Plato, 289 points. Fabrizio Giovanardi, 288. Tim, we've had 29 races this year, and now we go into the last race, and there's simply a point between them.
Yeah, you don't expect me to actually commentate on the race, do you? I shall be just watching. I mean, there couldn't be a more worthy champion than either of them. Giovanardi has done a fantastic season, totally outclassed his teammate, been fantastic to watch, great racecraft, and has won lots of races and been brilliant. Plato has driven better this year than any other year. He's really been a master of his art this year, and again, he's outpaced his teammate, he's scored good points, he's raced aggressively, even up to now, and you know, either of them are a great and worthy champion. With Plato having suffered the terrible injuries he suffered this year, it makes it even more emotional. And well, you know, good luck to both of them. It's a pity they can't share it.
Yeah, it is a shame, because as you say, they both deserve it, but only one is going to be able to win it. It does look good for Vauxhall to win the Manufacturers' Championship, but the Drivers' title is going to go all the way to the wire. There's no doubt about that. Giovanardi just on the weighbridge there. Of course, that's a normal part of the scrutineering process post-race to make sure that it's over the minimum weight limit. And so we're just seeing those cars going through the various bits and pieces they have to do, and he gets a thumbs up. Now I wonder, they had to put it back onto the weigh scales there. I wonder if it was fairly close to being on the limits. Let's get down to Diana.
Well, as everyone sort of enters back into the pit lane here, the sun is still shining. That it's a fantastic race. We'll have all the reaction to that in a few minutes after the short break.